Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi taala wabarakatuh. Salam sejahtera. Okay, so kita sambung dengan new chapter. Okay, chapter yang ke-7 is about the total quality management principle and then tools and also the technique. Okay, so in this chapter you are going to learn about the how to manage, the principle of the total quality implementation and management. Okay, the culture lah, culture and the principle of implementation. And then we are going to take a look the tools that's normally used by the industry, and also the technique. Okay, the technique the commonly used. Okay, so as usual, the learning outcome, there are three uh, learning outcomes to be achieved. The first one is describe the quality improvement and empowerment. So you are semua must be able to describe. Okay, at least describe, not explain, but at least you can describe the definition of quality improvement and the definition of empowerment of the employee empowerment. And then the learning outcome number two is you able to describe the 7 total quality management tools. Okay, so in this chapter, I'm going to expose to you what are the 7 of the tools that commonly used by the industry in order to manage the quality process. Okay, and then the learning number 3 is you're able to demonstrate all the 7 tools that's described in the TQM implementation. Okay, so these are the contents to be covered in this chapter. The first one is continuous improvement, and followed by employee empowerment, and also the TQM tools, and also the techniques of using the TQM tools. Okay, so first we take a look at the continuous improvement. Kaizen. Siapa yang belum pernah dengar Kaizen? Okay, Kaizen is the culture or the ataupun apa implementation ataupun adaptation of the process, okay, yang diguna pakai dalam industri. Semua jenis industri menggunakan konsep Kaizen. So Kaizen is the character of the Japanese language, which Kai is means change, Zen is means good. Okay, saya tak pasti sama ada in Chinese language, or I think sama atau tidak, sebab Chinese language dengan Japanese is not tak adalah banyak perbezaan. Ada persamaan di antara keduanya lah. Okay, so in by the concept of Kaizen, the main definition is continuous improvement, elimination of waste. Okay, so Kaizen ni culture yang digunakan pakai dalam industri. Dia amalkan terutama di industri Japan. Macam kilang-kilang Japan, diorang memang amalkan Kaizen ni. Sebab bagi diorang dalam membuat satu produk, okay, siapa lambat dia tertinggal dan dia akan kerugian. Okay, dia akan sentiasa cepat dan in at the same time continuous of the product improvement dan sebagainya lah. Okay, so the continuous improvement in terms of Kaizen. So a Kaizen is any plan action that cause a current state to become outdated and that causes the productivity to permanently change for good. So they look the state is become outdated. Okay, diorang ambil the last state as a problem, and then they are come out with the new current state. Dan the new current state also dia orang assume that is outdated. Diorang sentiasa akan cuba untuk fikirkan the improvement. Okay? Continually think about the improvement. And then dengan cara ini mereka akan dapat meningkatkan productivity dan diorang akan dapat maintain diorang punya good. And then about the Kaizen activities, this Kaizen activity actually implemented by a team or an individual. Boleh sama ada secara individual ataupun secara team. Tapi in one organisation, in industry, there are Kaizen activities normally implemented in team lah. Okay, but it's depending on the priority and size of the event. Okay, and then the Kaizen literally means a gradual, continuous improvement, mainly in small matters in all aspect of working life. Okay, the gradual dan sentiasa melihat ke depan, sentiasa melakukan improvement. Okay, dia bukan setakat kontrol tapi dia membuat satu pembaharuan, improvement secara continuous. Itu Kaizen. Okay, sebab Kaizen ni dia adalah satu elemen yang soalan yang saya dipahamkan lah. Okay, Kaizen ni adalah satu elemen yang sangat-sangat penting di dalam satu industri, dan even Kaizen implementation ataupun Kaizen culture ni ada di soal ketika interview. Jadi awak semua ambil tahulah berkenaan dengan Kaizen. Jadi bila interview nanti, bila awak interview kerja, dia tanya pasal Kaizen, at least awak tahu how to describe Kaizen. It's about the culture lah, the culture in order to improve the problem. Okay, continually improvement lah Kaizen ni. Okay, Kaizen begins with the recognition that any corporation can have problems and improvement can be made as long as perfection is lacking. Sentiasa dia akan melihat setiap sesuatu tu sebenarnya tak perfect dan boleh diperfectkan. Okay, then Kaizen approach can help towards the continuous improvement. Okay, a movement by contributing small change throughout the organization. Even the small change, Kaizen approach, it can help towards the continuous improvement. And then the Kaizen is the fundamental of the total quality. For example, competing in a global marketplace is like running in an Olympics. Okay, it's the good example. For example, in Olympic must keep running. We keep running, and last year record is to be broken this year. Kita nak sentiasa pecahkan rekod sebelum ni. Itulah Kaizen. Okay, kalau Kaizen sebelum ni pencapaian penjualan produk ataupun the product quality satisfaction by the consumer is only 50%. So next year, for the next state, kita kena achieve must be more than 50% of the consumer satisfaction, for example. Okay, at least but in the Olympics example, contohnya dalam Olimpik kita ada rekod. Contohnya dalam sukan running. Okay, all the participant, okay, want to broke their own record. Okay, their own last record. Athletes who don't improve continually will not remain long in winner's circle. Okay, kalau dia tak fikir dia nak improve, kalau dia tak nak fikir pasal dia nak pecahkan rekod sebelum ni, maknanya dia tak ada fikir langsung untuk improve. So dia tak akan berada di dalam orang yang cuba untuk berjaya, untuk menjadi juara. Itu maksudnya. Dia takkan juara lah, dia takkan juara. Sebab orang lain semua memecahkan rekod-rekod yang sebelum ni, tapi dia tak pecahkan rekod dia, maknanya dia tak nak to become as a winner lah. So sama dalam company. Okay, sama dalam company. So dalam company, kalau kita tak fikirkan kita punya improvement, masih lagi berada di takuk yang lama, so bermaksud kita punya pencapaian company kita masih lagi di takuk yang lama lah. Maksudnya tak ada improvement dari segi profit. Okay, tak ambil tahu pasal loss dan sebagainya. Okay, that's why kalau kita perasan for example automobile production, that's why dalam selang beberapa tahun ada model baru, selang beberapa tahun ada model baru. So benda tu sebenarnya diorang nak compete dalam global market. Kalau lambat, company lain akan tindas, akan mendahului dia. Jadi itulah tujuan Kaizen, untuk kita nak sentiasa ke depan. Okay, so the essential improvement activities. So this one is the activities, okay, in order to make the improvement lah. First, kita kena ada communication. The first one, kita kena ada communication. Okay, communicate dengan consumer, communicate within the organisation, okay, within the staff. Kita kena ada communicate to each other. Okay, for example, communicate with the consumer, kita buat survey, kita dapatkan how far the customer satisfaction. Dari situ kita tahu kelemahan produk, okay, ataupun service. And then the correct obvious problem, okay, identify the problem and then do the correction. Look upstream, sentiasa melihat ke atas dan ke depan untuk melihat improvement apa yang perlu dibuat. Document progress and problem, do the checklist, okay, do the record in order to know the, in order kita nak kena tahu takut lama. Contoh macam atlet running, dia tahu rekod dia sebelum ni, jadi dia document that record untuk dia tahu sama ada dia achieve on the next cycle atau tidak. Okay, itulah monitor changes. Okay, if we know the last state, then we can monitor the new state. Okay, and then the element of Kaizen. Okay, ada 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 element of Kaizen. The first is customer focus. Okay, customer is always right. So any satisfaction percentage of the customer can be as a good data lah. Okay, good data for that product improvement. And then we are doing the Kaizen in teamwork. Teamwork is very important for the view or the use of organisation. Kita kena ada teamwork. Okay, just in time. Okay, just in time means kita tak ketinggalan ke belakang. Kita sentiasa melakukan improvement tu sentiasa continuous. Okay, just in time. Quality circle. Okay, quality circle bermaksud kita nak sentiasa berada di dalam kalangan yang sentiasa berada di dalam quality. Contoh macam atlet tadi tu, kalau dia tak fikir untuk memecah rekod dia, bermaksud dia tak akan berada di dalam winner circle. Mana di luar winner circle, dia tak akan berada, dia tak akan jadi winner. Okay, and then another element of Kaizen is automation. Okay, not only using the human power. Okay, so automation, macam mana nak sebut pasal automation ni, element of Kaizen. Secara automatically kita tahu our role, okay, as a staff, as a team member. So secara automatic, okay, not only the automation is not related only to the automation machine lah, okay, but for the human we must to automatically know our role, okay, in order to achieve the goal lah. And then the labor or management cooperation is done by the employer for the employee empowerment and so on. And then the total productivity maintenance, okay, total productive maintenance. Okay, productive maintenance, we make sure that all the machinery, all the documentation is well maintained. Okay. And then the steps of applying Kaizen. There are 3 steps. The first step is we find the problem. The second step, we analyze the problem. And the third step is we do the planning. Maybe by doing the extensive project scheduling, and then maybe we do some experiments in order to get the data from the problem analysis lah. And then the 3M in Kaizen practice. Kaizen is means to remove mura, muda and muri. I think this is the word of the Japanese language lah. So muda, mura, muri. So muda is any wasteful activity or any obstruction to the smooth flow of an activity. Okay. Activity is also equal to the work plus waste. So we want to reduce or we want to eliminate the waste. Okay, so activity become equal to work plus productivity, efficient, for example. And then expenditure, the cost. Okay, bila kita expend the cost, mesti ada plus minus waste. We want to reduce the waste lah. And then murah, inconsistencies in the system, in the process must be consistent. Okay, muri, physical strain, push to work, overburden. Kadang-kadang kita nak kita nak implement Kaizen, kadang kita ignore, okay, kita ignore ataupun kita unaware about the push to work. Okay, we as a organizer or the employer, we push our employee to do the work. Sometimes we don't realize that our workers overburdened, for example. Okay. So the standard process improvement strategies, yang tadi tu the process improvement planning, bukan planning. Tadi apa? Activities. Okay, improvement activities. Yang ini lebih kepada strategies. Okay, so first strategy is describe. Okay, describe the process. We have one process to analyze the problem. First kita describe proses apa. Okay, kemudian kita standardize the process. Okay, selepas kita describe, kita standardizekan proses tu. Okay, kita buat in categories ke, kita standardizekan supaya kita lebih nampak lebih jelas, to be specific. Okay, and then kita daripada dah standardize, kita dah grouping the process, kita try to identify the errors in each group of the process ataupun standard process. Okay, in order to eliminate, we have to eliminate the errors. Okay, after we eliminate the errors, so tinggallah proses-proses yang less of errors, then kita try to simplify the process. Okay, kita cuba buat proses tu lebih mudah, jadi lebih mudah. Okay, kemudian we go to take a look the sources, the source of the process. Okay, kalau banyak variation of the source, banyak input, banyak information of the source, we try to reduce because we want to simplify. Okay, after that we bring the process under statistical control. Okay, we take a look, we get the data, do some experiment, do some the procedural or documentation, and then we doing the statistical control, we try to monitor. Okay, we come up with the data, we come up with the pros and cons of the process. Okay, then last we make the improve the design of the process. Okay, daripada kita describe proses sampailah kita eliminate, kita simplify, then we at last we can do the improvement lah untuk proses tu. Okay, so now is the Kaizen implementation tools. The tools to implement Kaizen. Okay, ini fundamental. Kaizen is a fundamental of the work culture lah. Okay, jadi kalau dalam interview dia tanya pasal Kaizen, so awak boleh jawab lah, Kaizen is the work culture lah, in doing the continual improvement. Okay, so this one is the Kaizen implementation. There are 4 tools to implement Kaizen. First, checklist. Okay, the second one is 5-step plan, 5S. The third one is 5W and 1H. And then the last one is 5M, checklist. Okay, we take a look one by one. First is Kaizen checklist. Using checklist that focuses attention of employees on those factors that are most likely in need of improvement. For example, work method, facilities, software, tools, etc. Okay. Cara kita melakukan kerja, kita checklist. Adakah betul ataupun tidak? Adakah that process is very simple ataupun tidak? Okay. Adakah proses itu melibatkan waste ataupun tidak? Kita do the checklist. Facilities, what kind of the appropriate facilities can be used, and then the software tools in order to simplify, to make the work more easier. Okay, you do the checklist. And then the Kaizen 5 step. Okay, Kaizen 5 step plan. Okay, ataupun 5S. Ni Kaizen 5. Kaizen 5 tu Kaizen. Sebenarnya Kaizen 5 step saja. Kenapa 2 kali, saya tak pastilah. Okay, so it's a Japanese approach to implement Kaizen 5S. Sebenarnya banyak industri dalam any organisation banyak kita nampaklah 5S. Okay, so what is 5F actually? So normally 5S is introduce in using the poster lah. Okay, kita nak marketkan 5S ni. Okay, kita nak marketkan 5S ni, kita nak introduce 5S ni dengan menggunakan poster. So what is 5S actually? First is Seiri. Seiri means strengthen up or short. Clearly distinguish needed items from unneeded. Okay, only remove what is not needed and keep what is needed. Apa yang perlu, apa yang tak perlu, kita ketepikan. Make sure that clearly distinguish. Okay, kedua is Seiton. Bukan syaiton, Seiton. Put things in order or set. Keep needed items in the correct place. Selepas kita dah buat perbezaan apa yang perlu, apa yang tak perlu. Okay, apa yang perlu, kita letak pula apa yang perlu tu in the correct place. Okay. Place things in such a way that they are easily accessible whenever they are needed. And then Seiso. Seiso is clean up. Keep the workplace neat and clean. Sebab apa? Persekitaran is memainkan peranan penting. Our environment play the important role. Okay, in order to increase our productivity, our achievement, our efficiency of work. Okay. Kemudian Shiketsu, personal cleanliness. Establish schedule and methods of performing cleaning and sorting. Okay, kita buat schedule, kita buat sorting. And then the last one is Shitsuke, discipline or sustain. Okay, maintain established procedures, commitment and self-discipline. Bila kita dah buat semua tu, kenalah disiplin. Kita kena maintain. So the third tools of implementation of Kaizen implementation is 5 W's and 1 H. Apa itu? W, apa itu H? Jadi W, who, what, where, when, why. Itu W. And 1 H is how. So kalau contoh macam who does it, who is doing it, who should be doing it. This is about the pertanyaan lah. Kita tanya diri kita sendiri, tanya dalam kita punya teamwork. Okay, who should be doing it, who else can do it. Semua benda ni kita boleh identify. Okay, sebab kita nak continuously improve the process, improve the product, improve the service. So means kita kena banyak ambil tahu. Banyak benda yang dalam kepala otak kita ni nak tahu. Why, where, kenapa, bila, macam mana, macam tu. Jadi kita boleh tahu secara improve, secara fundamentally-nya kita akan improve lah. So 5M checklist. Okay, M yang pertama, man ataupun operator. Is there has enough train? Sebagai tenaga pekerja kita, adakah kita cukup well trained untuk melakukan any particular work? And then the manpower play an important role in order to make all the planning, improvement and movement are achievable. Okay, sebab dengan train kita boleh achieve. Okay, kita boleh improve diri kita. And then the second M is machine. All the machines has been maintained properly and able to operate without any problem. And then material has fully supplied and easy to get source. Material supply can sustain the product development. Okay, material sources from the variety of sources, okay, can be reduced in order to eliminate the waste, for example. And then the fourth method, use an appropriate method in implementing the improvement as a good approach. Try to simplify the problem, simplify the process. And then the last M is measure. Okay, after we determine, identify the process, simplify the process, analyze the process, so measure is the last one. Okay, we can monitor, we can measure the improvement action that we did, so that we know how to improve on the next stage. So for example, the athletes, okay, he already know his last record. For example, 100, okay, running, 100 meter running, acara 100 meter. Dia tahu rekod 100 meter sebelum ni 10 second. Okay, so he can measure how to improve that record. Maybe on the next cycle, he try to beat the 10 second. Maybe he try to get 5.5 second for 100 meter long distance. But how to get that? Maybe he try to think about the method of running, okay, about the method of in doing the training. Dari situ dia boleh measure. Okay. So now we go to the next contents. Okay, so we already finished about the first content, is about the continual improvement. Okay, continual improvement is related to the Kaizen, culture work, Kaizen. So the next content is about the employee empowerment. So ini ada kata-kata pujangga daripada John Maxwell. Okay, leaders become great not because of their power, but because of their ability to empower others. Okay, dalam satu organisasi kita lihat satu organisasi itu berjaya, mantap, bukan disebabkan oleh ketua dia bagus, bukan disebabkan oleh ketua dia berilmu, bukan disebabkan ketua dia tu power, tapi disebabkan ketua dia delegate tugas. Okay, delegate tugas dan dia trust kepada staff-staff dia boleh melakukan kerja. Okay, dan dia apa nama cakap, dia transparent lah. Dia maksudnya dia terima any suggestion from others. Okay, dia ambil tahu improvement from others. Dia give the reward, for example, for the good, for the best employer, for example. Okay, secara tak langsung that organisation can be become as a very very good organisation. Bukan disebabkan oleh leader yang bagus, okay, a great leader, tapi sebabkan leader, kebolehan leader tu to empower others. So employee empowerment. Empowerment means engaging employees in thinking process of an organization in ways that matters. Also means having input that is heard and used, giving ownership of the job and giving trust to employee. Okay, maknanya bukan kerja-kerja tu bukan seorang saja yang fikir, bukan leader saja yang fikir how to do the improvement, tetapi improvement tu datangnya daripada employee juga. So employee empowerment means that management recognize the employees can identify and solve many problem or obstacle to achieving organizational goals. That's why dalam satu organisasi ada carta, ada pengerusi, ada pengarah, timbalan pengarah, ada bendahari, ada ketua jabatan dan sebagainya. Okay, dia ada dia punya hierarki dia untuk melakukan kerja. Itu maksudnya leader delegate the task. Okay, delegate the task to the kepada orang bawahnya ataupun dia punya subordinate. Okay, so rationale of employee empowerment is the best way to increase creative thinking and initiative on the part of employees. Can be an outstanding motivator. Okay, motivator to the another employees lah, and within them lah. Okay, inisiatif kepada dia orang untuk dia orang improve dia orang punya creativity, dia orang punya productivity, dia orang punya personal improvement dan sebagainya. Tapi isu dia, ada employee yang resistant to change. They don't want to change. They want to move into the circle. Okay, masih lagi di kotak yang lama. Takut yang lama, dia orang tak nak berubah. Itu isu dia. Lack of self motivation to change. Dia tak ada motivasi diri. Lepas tu insufficient training. Tak cukup training macam mana nak improve. Contohnya dia dah bertahun-tahun tapi masih lagi tidak tahu menggunakan software dan sebagainya. Tapi sebenarnya ada training tapi dia tak pergi training. Jadi dia tak tahulah insufficient training. So macam mana dia nak empower diri dia sendiri untuk ke depan. Okay. So implementation of employee empowerment. Implementation of employee empowerment has 4 steps. First is creating a supportive environment. Okay, macam saya cakap, environment is play the role in order to achieve the good productivity work. Okay. And then the targeting and overcoming, kita kena ada target dalam kita punya work. Okay, target dalam kita punya career. Okay, and then putting the vehicle in place. Vehicle means brainstorming, quality circle, suggestion box. Okay, and then the assessing, adjusting and improving. Okay, bila kita dah create, kita dah ada environment yang baik, kita dah ada target, kita nak capai apa. Okay, kemudian kita brainstorm macam mana nak capai benda tu. Benda kita buat prosedur, kita buat checklist, buat suggestion box untuk capaikan target tu. Bila dah dapat, baru kita assess. Kita punya brainstorming tu kita assess, kita adjust, kita improve, baru kita boleh dapat target. Itu dia punya cara, step dia. So, apa benefit of employee empowerment ni kepada organisasi? Okay, benefit dia pada organisasi, pertama, optimum utilization of human resource. Okay, tak adalah kita bayar gaji pada pekerja hanya untuk melakukan satu kerja, satu task sahaja. Tapi sebenarnya kita boleh delegate dan kita boleh train our staff to do the another task. Okay, jadi boleh to become as a versatile staff, versatile worker. This why itu dinamakan optimum, kita utilize the human resource. And then the higher customer satisfaction. Okay, because of our employee can do the work, they can do the task very well. So at the same time, our customer satisfy our service. Okay, and then fulfill organization vision. Okay, as usual, any organization have their own vision, their own mission. So that is the target. Okay, by implement the employee empowerment, actually we can achieve that vision and target. Okay, dalam yang step yang saya exposekan sebelum ni, dalam in the previous slide, there are 4 step, right? The second step is target. Okay, so jadi untuk empowerment ni, kita boleh capai target tu. And then the next benefit is increased productivity because of the environment. Okay, kita lihat another workers, another employee they have their own reward because of his self improvement, training dan sebagainya. So secara tak langsung kita akan meningkatkan productivity daripada segi lain. Okay, bila dapat productivity increase, our quality also increase. We can enhance the quality, enhance for the organization the quality of the service. Okay, at the same time enhance, and then reduce time and cost involved. Kita boleh simplify the process. Okay, at the same time we can reduce the time to do the process, and then we can save the money. Okay, and then requires less supervision. Okay, because of when our workers have well trained, so kita tak perlu risau lagi. Kita dah boleh percaya pada staff kita, kita boleh trust pada mereka. Jadi bila kita dah trust, kita dah percaya diorang boleh melakukan kerja, so kita tak perlu lagi supervise. So less supervision lah. Kita tahu, kita percaya staff kita boleh melakukan kerja. Okay, next is another content. is about the TQM tool and techniques. TQM means a total quality management. So, but in this content is I exposed to you about the tools, okay, tools that are normally used by the industry lah. So actually there are 7 quality tools that normally is a common, okay, the common in TQM lah. The first one is Pareto charts, and then followed by the cause and effect diagram or Ishikawa ataupun dipanggil sebagai fishbone diagram. Okay, nombor 3 is check sheet. Check sheet is very very common. And then histogram. Histogram is a statistical, okay, yang menggunakan data. And then scatter diagram, run chart and control chart, stratification. Okay, so dalam ketujuh quality tools ni, tools bagi saya tools yang kedua dan tools yang kedua yang betul-betul tools yang tidak melibatkan statistical method lah. Kita tengok nanti kenapa. Okay, first introduction of the TQM tools. We know that the collecting and analyzing data can be difficult, especially for the very big event. Okay, the very big event, very huge process. Okay, very huge organization. Actually, we will get the very huge data. Some of that, this data, data collection, is difficult to analyze. That's why we have to implement any type of these TQM tools lah. So the quality tools ensure better decision making, better solutions to problems, and even improvement of productivity and products and services, because we do the by using the quality tools, actually we already grouping the problem. We already try to implement the solving. Okay, we try to solve the problem secara specific. Okay, that's why we can achieve the good decision, better solutions, and also the better improvement. And they're being used by everyone. The TQM is being used by everyone, even the managers, engineers, okay, production workers, technologists, office staff, even kita sendiri as a personal pun kita boleh implement, okay, TQM ni. And then used in manufacturing and in other department, in doing planning, doing the design, okay, doing the marketing, purchasing, technology, okay, introducing the new technology, introducing the new product, okay. Tools, some form of chart for the collection and display of specified kind of data, okay. Data become useful information to solve problem, enhance decision making, keep track of work being done, and even predict future performance and problems. Okay, because of implementation of this kind of TQM tools, 7 tools, our data can be useful lah. Sebab data kita gunakan secara statistik control. Okay, that's why it's organized data. Masses immediately understand. Daripada kita ada banyak data yang kita susah nak faham, bila kita implement benda ni kita senang nak faham. Oh, macam ni rupanya. Okay, loss ada dekat sini, profit ada dekat sini dan sebagainya lah. Gitu. Okay. Okay, kita lihat satu persatu ketujuh TQM tool dan teknik untuk kita nak implement ketujuh ni. Okay. First is Pareto chart. Pareto charts are useful for separating the important from the trivial. Okay, useful for separating the important. And Pareto chart is named after Italian economist and sociologist named Vilfredo Pareto. Dia yang cipta lah. In the real world, a minority of causes lead to the majority of problem. Yes, that's true. Sekecil-kecil masalah boleh mengakibatkan sebesar-besar masalah. Okay, so the Pareto charts are important because they can help an organization decide where to focus limited resources. Okay, so on the Pareto chart, data array along X and Y axis. Dia ada dua axis. Okay. So steps in constructing Pareto chart. First, we select the subject of the chart. Apa benda yang kita nak analyse. Okay. Kemudian, we determine what data to be gathered. Apa data-data ada. Okay. Apa yang kita nak plot. And then, gather the data related to the quality problem. Okay, gather the data related to the quality problem and then make a check sheet of the gathered data. Record the total numbers in each category, determine total numbers of non-conformities, and then calculate the percentage of each. And then select scale of the chart and draw the Pareto chart. And then last, we can analyze the chart. So this is the example of the Pareto chart. So kita ada subject dia, kita ada problem dia. In the x-axis, we have the problem. Okay, subjek dia adalah berkenaan dengan reward cost. Then the problem is about the part fail, miswire, incorrect part. So in this Pareto chart example, the test department is concerned about the cost of rework resulting from test failures. Dia nak tengok in the list of the failures ataupun problem. Okay, dia nak lihat, dia concern about the cost of rework. Kalau kita lihat kat sini, figures from shows 80% of the cost was related to just 5 defect causes. Okay, cumulative percentage of rework cost. So sebanyak 80% disebabkan oleh kelima-lima failures ni. 80% akan mengakibatkan 80% of the rework cost. All other is about 30 more were insignificant. The longest bar, which is a 75K accounted, this one, the longest bar, only 40% reward cost will be accounted. Okay, only 40%. So, if it solved, immediate reduction in reward cost will happen. 50%. So this is the how to read this Pareto chart daripada sini. So maksudnya kat sini dia ada dua axis dan daripada yang sama dia boleh tahu disebabkan oleh problem-problem ni berapa persen akan mengakibatkan. Contoh kalau macam fail ni, kalau dia ambil fail ni sebagai decision untuk kita nak reduce, so 40% okay, reward cost akan diambil kira. So bila kita ambil tahu pasal part fail paling tinggi ni, so kita boleh reduce kita punya cost reward tu sebanyak 40% kat situ. Itu maksud dia. Okay, kedua, cause and effect diagram. The cause and effect diagram was developed by the late Dr. Karo Ishikawa, okay, noted Japanese quality expert. Others have thus called it the Ishikawa diagram or fishbone diagram. Okay, its purpose is to help identify and isolate the cause of problem. And in this, it is the only one of the 7 basic quality tools that is not based on statistic. So dia bukan based on data, statistical data lah, cause and effect diagram ni. Okay, simply a means of visualizing how the various factors associated with the process affect the process output. Dia tak melibatkan data, tapi dia lebih kepada visualizing. Okay, kita provide the graphic view of the entire process that is easily interpreted by the brain. Daripada apa yang kita fikir, pros and cons, apa semua yang associated to the output process. Okay, so kat sini from the figure above, the spine point to the effect ataupun the main problem issue. Okay, spine ni yang tengah lah. Ni yang tengah ni. And then the effect ni, okay, is the problem that we are interested. Ini kita interested main cause yang pertama, kedua, ketiga. Jadi dalam setiap main cause ni ada lagi sub cause yang membawa kepada affecting daripada main cause. Kita lihat dalam contoh nanti yang akan. Okay, there are 6 common major factors in cause and effect diagram. First, faktor yang pertama adalah diri kita sebagai operator, sebagai pekerja. Kedua, cara kita melakukan kerja, method. Ketiga, measurement, okay, material, machine and also environment. So kita lihat contoh kat sini untuk kerja untuk membuat burger contohnya, paling simple lah kat sini. So the main effect dia adalah kita punya factor yang hijau ni. Okay, yang hijau ni. Ini the spine ni menghala kepada kita punya main concern. Apa yang mengakibatkan kita punya burger jadi teruk, bad. Okay, faktor-faktor. Ini faktor-faktor dia yang 6 hijau ni adalah faktor dia. Apa faktor yang membawa kepada bad burgers? Contoh faktor pertama, machine, storage and cooking equipment, poor hygiene and poor maintenance. Okay, faktor pertama, machine. Apa yang membawa kepada machine kita masalah? Okay, poor maintenance, for example. And then method, cara kita membuat burger tu. Apakah yang membuatkan cara kita tu salah? Mungkin kita gunakan resepi yang dah rosak, resepi yang dah lama. Kita tak follow the procedure, tak follow the sukatan dia, scale dia. Okay, and then material yang kita gunakan. Mungkin material yang kita gunakan tu tak fresh, dah lama. Okay, kemudian environment kita. Okay, too hot will impact the quality of food. Humidity also affect food quality. And then measurement, incorrect quantity of spice. Measurement maksudnya mungkin terlebih minyak ke, terlebih masak, kurang masak. Measurement kita. Okay. And then personal. Ini personal means diri kita sendiri. Mishandling, kurang training, kurang pengetahuan. Itulah akibatnya kita akan dapat menghasilkan bad burgers. Itu maksud dia. Ini yang implement. Kalau kita lihat kat sini, dia tak ada melibatkan data of statistical data. Dia lebih kepada brainstorming. Okay. Okay, number third TQM tools is check sheet. Check sheet ni is the common yang digunakan dalam industri. Even dalam diri kita pun kita selalu nak buat checklist. Okay, contoh kita nak beli barang dapur, supaya kita banyak gunakan checklist. Kalau contoh dalam industri dia gunakan checklist ni untuk dia nak identify the problem. Okay, the frequent problem happen. Dia nak identify. Okay, for example kat sini event, daripada seminggu punya event, supply part rusted. Dia tengok hari Isnin berapa kali, okay, Selasa berapa kali. Jadi dalam seminggu berapa kali rusted, supply part tu rusted. Jadi dia buat checklist kat sini. At the end of the week dia tahu, okay, dalam seminggu sebanyak 40 benda, okay, yang dia dah defect, yang dia dah 40 defect, okay, total yang dia dapat identify daripada spesifik event yang dia dah list down kat sini. Okay, misalign well, improper test procedure. Dia dilihat kat sini, spray failure berlaku pada satu hari dalam seminggu. Okay, dalam hari Rabu sebanyak 4 kali at the same day. Tapi dalam seminggu, dalam satu hari, okay, bukan spray failure saja yang berlaku. Okay, defect, defect type of yang lain pun berlaku dalam masa satu hari. Jadi dekat sini dia nampak harian punya dan juga mingguan punya. Itu check sheet. So histogram used to chart frequency of occurrence. Alamak, ini dua kali ni. How often does something happen? Dia nak tahu frequency, berapa frekuensi dia. Need to understand two kinds of data commonly associated with the process, which is attributes and variable. Attribute data are some things that the output product of the process either has or does not have. Okay, and then the variable data are data that result when something is measured. Okay, bila kita measure sesuatu, measurement kita mungkin akan berbeza. Dari situ, walaupun dalam proses yang sama, tapi kita dapat data yang berbeza. Itu we call as a variable of data. Okay, we take a look the example of implement the histogram. For example, we have the bed experiments. Okay, dalam satu container kita ada 900 white beds. Okay, dalam 900 white beds kita ada 100 red beds yang dia bercampur. Okay, totalnya maknanya dalam 900 ada 100 warna merah. Okay, then these beds is mixed together in the container. Okay, and then 50 beds are drawn at random. Okay, drawn at random. Contoh paling senang kita buat macam undian kan. Dalam kotak semua kertas warna putih, tapi dalam Musa kata ada 900 kertas warna putih dalam tu, bukan 900 kertas dalam tu, tapi ada 100 kertas yang bercampur dalam tu warna merah. Dalam 900 tu ada 100 kertas warna merah dalam tu, dalam kotak tu. Dan bila kita buat eksperimen tanpa melihat, kita keluarkan sampel, ambil satu sampel. Setiap sampel tu berapa kali, setiap kali kita draw tu berapa kali dapat warna merah. Tu maksud dia. Okay, dan proses ni berulang. Okay, proses tu berulang, tetapi output kita berubah. Sometimes kita dapat merah, sometimes kita dapat putih. Yang merah putih tu yang kita panggil sebagai variable of data. Okay, variable of data. Then if these steps are taken over and over, histogram will occur. Kita boleh create the histogram. Okay, if these steps are repeated over and over until a valid statistical sampling has been taken, banyak kita buat sampel, then the resulting histogram will take on the characteristic bell shape common to process variability. Nanti kita lihat macam mana bell shape ini masukkan. Okay, it is possible to calculate the process variety from the data. Okay, for example kat sini, okay, ini hasil daripada eksperimen ni lah, bed experiment. Okay, ini yang dipanggilkan sebagai bell shape. Yang exist yang ini number of red bands in sample. So maksudnya sampel ada 5 red. Okay, kalau kita ambil sebanyak 30 sampel, for example 30 kali kita tarik, okay, kita dapat 5, menghasilkan 5 kertas merah contohnya. Kalau kita lihat dekat yang sini sebelah kanan ni, sampel dengan tak ada dapat warna merah, okay, kosong. Sampel dengan satu merah, satu, okay, satu. Okay, sampel yang pertama kita tarik tanpa, contohnya lah ni kosong kan. Of course lah kosong, maksudnya kita tak ada buat draw. Draw yang pertama kita dapat satu merah terus. Okay, bila kita draw 2 kali, okay, ini bukan draw 2 kali, ini draw 3 kali. Ni draw 3 kali kita dapat 2 merah. Ni draw 9 kali kita dapat 3 kali merah. Ini draw 19 kali kita dapat 4 kali merah. Jadi sebenarnya kita dah ambil sebanyak 100 kali draw. Okay, 100 kali draw. So histogram is the statistical data that can be analyzed through standard deviation. In statistics, the standard deviation is a measure of the amount of variation or dispersion of a set of value. Okay, variation is a standard deviation. Dia deviate daripada means ataupun average, dia deviate to right and left. Dia disperse. Okay, so a low standard deviation indicates that the value tend to be close to the mean. Okay, there's low standard deviation bermaksud kita ada average. Mean means average. Okay, so secara average-nya kita punya the value tend to be close to the average, also called the expected value. Dia punya conclusion dia, maksud dia kita punya data tu adalah menghampiri expected. Kita expect 5, so analisis kita menghampiri 5. Okay, while a high standard deviation indicate that the value are spread out over a wide range. Okay, kita expect, contoh kita expect profit kita sekian-sekian. Kemudian kita punya analisis, kita punya profit menghampiri kita punya expectation, itu dimasukkan low standard deviation. Tapi kalau kita punya expectation jauh daripada kita punya result, bermaksud high standard deviation. Okay. Mean is the sum of the observation divided by the number of observations, or also describe the central location of the data in the chart, the central location of the standard deviation or the bell shape. Okay. So untuk kita dapatkan standard deviation, first kita kena calculate the mean or the average. So how to calculate the means? This is the equation to calculate the means, which is the total of the rate, okay, of the total of the rate bed divided by the total of sample. Okay, kita sample kita sebanyak 100 kali kita draw. Okay, dalam 100 kita draw, sebanyak 510 rate bed kita dapat. Jadi 510 divide by 100. So kita dapat titik tengah ataupun average equal to 5.1. So this is the mean. So this is the center, as mentioned in the central location of the data. Okay, and then we calculate the standard deviation. So D is the deviation of any unit from the means, histogram and statistic. Okay, D, deviation from means. So that's why column 1 minus means. Okay, berapa jauh the distance, and then N is the number of unit sample. Okay, so kita dapat 221 bahagi dengan N minus 1 equal to 99, because our N is equal to 100. Okay, so kita dapat standard deviation is 1.49. Okay, 1.49 and 2 kali ganda of standard deviation, kita dapat 2.99, 3 kali ganda 4.47. So ini dah masuk dia. Okay, central ni is the mean. Ni kita punya expected kita kat sini. Jadi ini kita punya standard deviation. Okay, yang plus minus first standard deviation ni, ini yang kita punya yang menghampiri expected. Kita lihat, okay, number of sample yang dalam 4 ke 5 dengan 6 ke 7 ni menghampiri expected. So using the standard deviation, we have a standard way of knowing what is normal and what is extra large or extra small. From the Bell experiment, we can know that the frequency distribution of the number of red band in sample is 5. So the normal distribution means the central or expected. Okay, kita expect dalam 30 sampel kita akan dapat 5 kali. Dalam 500. Okay, dalam 100 sampel kita akan dapat 5 red band kalau kita melakukan 30 sampel. Itu maksudnya. So the lower number of sample will result the lower number of red bands. Okay, the lower number of sample. Okay. So itulah, makin banyak kita punya sample, makin banyak kita punya expectation. Betul lah ni. This is kita panggil sebagai normal distribution. So kalau kita relate dengan kita punya contohlah dalam produk marketing kan. Okay, makin banyak produk kita hasilkan, okay, makin banyak kita punya expectation profit. Jadi bila produk sikit yang kita keluarkan, so expectation kita punya produk punya jualan profit, okay, hasil profit kita akan makin rendah. Itu maksud dia. Okay. So the shape of histogram, kita ada proses A, B, C, D, E, F dan G. Okay, kalau kita lihat A ni is the normal distribution ataupun mass title favorable. Okay, yang A ni. Proses B bermaksud greater variance. So bermaksud dia punya sini dia ni kecil, ni besar. Ini kalau part C yang ini dia bermaksud the variable of data. So maksudnya kalau bell shape ni dia kurus, bermaksud variable of data tu kurang. Jadi kalau bell shape ni dia melebar macam ni, proses B ni melebar, bermaksud kita punya variable of data is high. Okay, jadi C dengan D are not centered. They skewed to the right and to the left. Okay, so product will be lost, but it depends on the location of central ataupun kita punya expected. So E dengan F, E is by model, result from two batch of input material, the multiple input. Yang F ni dia dah discard, take out the reject. Okay, reject is the left and the right one is the reject. So kita cuma ambil yang tengah je, the best. Okay, only collect the data within the acceptable range. Okay, kita ambil range sini ke sini, kita ambil yang ini, data kat sini je. Yang G ni pula, kita vendor screen out the parts, only took the best. Okay, we only took the best one to another consumer. This one is considered as the bad. This one is the best. Okay, and then H, a proper normal distribution between upper and lower limits. This one is normal distribution. This one is upper and lower limits. Okay, jadi bila kita ambil upper and lower limits, so it become F punya proses. Okay, kemudian I dengan J. I dengan J is by modal ataupun skewed to the left and to the right. Okay, but depending on the central location or the expected location, so we can conclude that dia makin merugi. Okay, makin rugi to the reject location lah. Okay, and then K until P is shifting. Okay, this one is the central one, micro ni. Okay, this one is central one. So this one is considered as acceptable or the normal distribution. This one is kita punya result is to the right of the expectation. Actually to the right is go to the positive side, left is go to the negative side. Okay, kalau yang ini sama lah, pergi ke positive side lah. Okay, dia jauh sikit daripada expected tapi more to the positive side. Okay, yang ini dia dah lebih kepada, dah jauh daripada expectation. Dia dah makin jauh daripada expectation lah. Okay, so tool yang kelima. Okay, tool yang kelima is scatter diagram. A scatter diagram is used to determine the relationship between two variables. Okay, variable X and Y. So one variable is plotted on the horizontal axis and another one is plotted on the vertical axis. While this diagram shows a relationship, it does not by itself prove that one variable causes the other. So the scatter diagram will generally show one of 6 possible correlation between the variables. So data ni kebiasaannya kalau kita mau punya data yang banyak dan kita nak tahu dia punya trend, data trend. So this one is the 6 possible correlation is the trend lah sebenarnya. Strong positive correlation, strong negative correlation, weak positive correlation, weak negative, complex and no correlation. So kalau strong positive correlation, so the value of Y clearly increase as the value of X increase. Kalau negative correlation, value of Y clearly decrease as the value of X increase. Okay, kita lihat kat sini. Okay, ini positif, strong positif. Nombor 2 is strong negative. Kita lihat kat sini, the increase, this one is decrease. So kat sini kita lihat bila Y increase, X also increase. Macam itulah. Jadi sampai ke correlation yang ke-6 ini. So no correlation, maksudnya dia tak ada, X dengan Y is not dependent to each other. Kalau this one is linear, this one is linear, this one is non-linear. Okay. And then control chart. Control chart ni dia lebih kepada kita ada threshold. Okay. Kita ada upper and lower threshold. Then we want to ensure that our process or our data or our measurement ataupun monitoring condition monitoring is within the acceptable range. Okay, so this control chart is appropriate tool to monitor the process. That's why it is more suitable if you want to monitor the process. So data are plotted over time but stay between upper and lower. Okay, so data is still plotted but we ensure that is still still in the acceptable region. Okay, as long as the plot stay between the limits and don't congregate on the one side of the other of the process average line, the process is statistical control. Okay, selagi walaupun kita lihat dia ada fluctuation of the process, tapi still within the limit ataupun acceptable limit, so kita boleh kata sebagai proses itu is under statistical control. Okay, if either of these condition is not met, the control chart process is not in statistical control, or we call as out of control. So the control chart usually operated under statistical process control. Statistical process control. Kita biasanya control chart kita associated with the statistical process control or SPC. So what is SPC? SPC is statistical method of separating variation resulting from natural causes to eliminate the special causes and to establish and maintain consistency in the process. Okay. So the rationale for SPC include the following. First, enable the control of process variation. Okay, process kita vary, tapi kita can identify either the process variation is under control or not, and then make possible continual improvement of the process, results in predictability of process, result in elimination of waste, make less expensive inspection modes possible. And then the SPC is essential today to evaluate the quality of products and services while lowering costs in order to compete successfully in world market. Okay. So example of a control chart. The process makes precision spaces. Okay, dalam proses untuk dapatkan spacer, untuk membuat satu spacer yang precise, that are normally 100 mm thick. Okay, the process operates on 2 shift basis and appears to be quite stable. 50 spacers per hour are produced. To develop a control chart for the process, we will measure the first 10 spacers produced after 9 am, 1 pm, 5 pm and 9 pm, 10 spacers. We will do this for 3 days. Kita buat selama 3 hari for the total of 120 data points in 12 subgroups. Okay, so this is the data. Kita ada 3 hari punya. So 6 hari bulan, 7 hari bulan dan 8 hari bulan. Kan kita ada subgroup, group pertama sampai group yang ke-12. Setiap group kita ada 10 sampel. Okay, 10 sampel yang berlainan thickness. Okay, kalau kita kat sini berlainan thickness. Jadi macam mana kita nak identify from this data, either the process of spaces production tu is still under the specific the acceptable specification. Dia ada upper and lower specification. Kalau melebihi daripada spek yang ditetapkan, mungkin spacer tu mungkin tak sesuai digunakan ke, ataupun bahaya digunakan ke dan sebagainya. So macam mana kita nak identify the upper and lower? So these are the equation and the step. First, we determine the average. Okay, it's the summation of the x divided by n. So x, okay, is the group lah. Yep. Okay, so x bar is the subgroup event, subgroup average. Kita lihat kat sini nanti kejap ada tak. Tak ada contoh kat sini. Okay, tak apa. Kita dapatkan x bar. Okay, so x bar kita equal to summation of x divided by n. And x double bar is equal to x bar summation divided by k. Okay, so kita punya x kita yang ini x kita sebanyak divide by 10 lah sebenarnya. Okay, so k is the number of subgroup which is equal to 12 divided by 12. Okay, jadi kita punya x double bar is equal to 1200.8 divided by 12. Yang ini mean value. Ini kita punya mean. This one is the summation of mean. Okay, so average of subgroup range R bar is the summation of R divided by K. So R is the maximum value of X minus the minimum value of X. So this one, the maximum value of X1 until X10 minus the minimum value of between X1 to X10. So R equal to 4. Kalau kita lihat kat sini, maksimum dia yang ini adalah 102. Minimum dia adalah 98. Okay, so tolakkan 84. Okay, so R bar is equal to 68 divided by 12. 68 is the summation, the total of the range of R. So kita dapatlah. So dari sini kita boleh identify upper and lower. Okay, UCL and LCL. So A2 is from a factor table that has been developed for control chart. Kat sini A2 kita. So the larger the value of A2, the further apart the upper and lower control limit. Makin besar kita menilai A2, makin besar kita punya acceptable threshold. So since in this case n is equal to 10, kita punya n ni equal to 10. Okay, jadi A2 kita equal to 0.31. Kita punya n kat sini, so kita ambil A2 0.31, LCL 0.22 and UCL is equal to 1.78 berdasarkan pada n equal to 10. So kita selesaikan, kita boleh dapat UCLX dan UCLR. Okay, kita boleh dapat dua-dua ni. So result dia macam ni lah. Okay, UCLX dan LCL. Jadi this one is upper and lower bound of the average. Okay, this one is the upper and lower bound of acceptable range, minimum and maximum of thickness of the spacer. Okay, jadi apa berlaku kalau tiba-tiba ada satu yang melebihi threshold? So apa perlu kita buat? Kita kena eliminate this one, then kita kena recalculate the new process. Baru kita akan dapat dia akan in acceptable range balik. Okay. Okay, the last TQM tools is stratification. Stratification is lebih kepada, is about the statistical data juga, tapi investigating in grouping categories. For example, the group might include data relative to the environment, people involved, the machines and use in the process, material, etc. Okay, kita ada data, ada number, kemudian kita groupkan depending on the categories, and then kita akan dapat dalam bentuk, sebenarnya dia gabungan. Stratification is the gabungan of the another type of the TQM tools. Tapi stratification is the method of the approach, okay, by grouping data into the categories. Okay, so this is the end of the chapter 7. So in chapter 7, you have learned about the principle of the continual improvement by using Kaizen culture. So Kaizen is the work culture that commonly used by the industry in order to meet ataupun to compete the improvement of the product, okay, the achievement of the productivity dan sebagainya. And then the next content is about the employee empowerment. Okay, we trust our employee. We give them to give a suggestion. Okay, we trust them to do another task. We train them in order to achieve their own achievement. So adalah benda-benda lain yang how to improve, how to implement the empowerment dan sebagainya. Kemudian we take a look about the TQM tools, TQM tools and how to implement tools. So I already demonstrate on by giving some of the example, okay, how to use the Ishikawa diagram ataupun fishbone diagram, okay, Pareto, apa lagi, chart, Pareto chart, scatter diagram, check sheet dan sebagainya. Saya ada bagi contoh-contohnya. Okay, so that's all for the chapter 7. After this, we have the last chapter, which is the chapter X, which is related to the engineering ethics. Tak banyak pun engineering ethics, so kita akan cover dalam bentuk ni lah, asynchronous class, which is by using the pre-recording video teaching. Okay, so all the best to you. Thank you for watching this video until the end. Okay, so until we meet again in another last chapter, with chapter number 8. So thank you for your cooperation. Assalamualaikum and salam sejahtera.